Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ekta Sehgal Malhotra, founder mcube. With Ila Dwivedi, co-founder mcube, I extend a warm welcome to all of you and to our guest speaker, Rezina Denis. Rezina has been with us all through February, telling us that parenting is not just about making changes and amendments to the behavior of a child, but to work upon ourselves so that we understand parenting from a different perspective. And the perspective that she brought in was NLP, neuro linguistic programming. As one would say, that the sign of great parenting is not in the child's behavior, but the sign of truly great parenting is in the parent's behavior. And we understood that we should not GDD, generalize, distort, delete. We must understand all those assumptions, presumption, myths that we have in our mind with respect to parenting, the baggage that we carry, the legacy that we are carrying on for generations together, because the current generation is different. The exposure that they have, the environment that they are brought up is way too different than the way we were brought up. We also understood the 7 steps to effective parenting. First and foremost, love yourself. Understand the child, how they feel about you. That letter from your child to you was a brilliant exercise, and I'm sure many of you would have got to know a lot about how your child thinks about you. Of course, they change every minute, every second, depending upon how you are with them, because children have a very short span of remembering anything which is not so pleasant, and they move on to the next. They don't hold on, they don't hold grudges. To be a genuine parent, to always be in a positive state of mind and to create that positivity, that self belief in our children, build rapport, and most importantly, understand the learning mode of the child. The 3 ways, the 3 techniques that Rezina shared with us. Whether you look up, you look towards your left, or you look towards your right. Visual, audio, or kinesthetics. Which one works for your child? And not only should you learn the learning mode of your child, but also do that for yourself, so that when you are engaging with your child, both modes are the same, and hence there would be no disconnect. But as I said, that the test of a genuinely true parenting is not in the child's behavior, but in the behavior of a parent. And every parent here who's watching us, who would eventually watch, would want a happy child. How do you have happy children? 5 steps to happy children is what Rezina is going to be talking to all of us today in our concluding episode of Reprogram, Restart Parenting with NLP. So thank you, Rezina, once again for taking us through this entire journey of parenting, and today coming to a point where we understand how happy children are created. So not wasting much of the time, over to you.
Thank you, Ekta, once again for having me over. And today we are going to talk about a very beautiful topic, how to raise happy children. And, in this discussion today, a lot of parents will also discover the true meaning of happiness. So without waiting, I'm going to straight away get on to our beautiful conversations around why is it so important for our children to be raised happily. So there are many researches and surveys which are available over the internet. Parents should go and even research this. However, from my study and from my interaction, from my own surveys which I do with children, there are 2 surveys which I conducted myself with the parents whom I work with on coaching, and as well as children whom I work with. Approximately 100 parents and 100 children were asked the question that what makes you happy? And the answer which I received from every child was was beyond toys and beyond games. It was all related to either their family, their parents, or even their pet. Most of the answers, approximately 80% plus answers, were falling in this category. So what I'm trying to say here is that happiness does not lie in luxuries. Happiness does not lie in presents and gifts which we give to our children. Happiness lies in families, in parenting, in parents, and happiness begins at home. On this note, let's look at a simple short presentation which I have created, which I'll take you through, and we can then explore this topic further. Ekta has already given a very wonderful recap, so I'm not going to do that again. And we are going to straight away jump into the happiness angle. So there was also a survey which was done on what are the basic needs. And I'm sure we all know what our basic needs are. It's food, clothing, and shelter, right? So if I ask any adult here, what are your basic needs? We'll say food, clothing, and shelter. And of course, now with all the evolution and all, we may add a lot of other stuff to this, like, a mobile phone, a Wi-Fi connection, etc., etc. Because I feel even social media or, access to Wi-Fi and mobile phone has also become one of the basic needs for us humans. The same question was asked, to children. What are your basic needs? And in that came up was that happiness formed the most important element for a basic need of a child over food, clothing, and shelter. So when this was ranked, happiness was ranked as first, and then came food, clothing, and shelter. So what I'm trying to say here is that no matter how much we provide our children the best of the worlds in terms of the best homes, the best luxury, the best vacation, or the best games, or the best toys, or the best, costliest thing what we can give, but nothing can ever compensate the happiness which you can fill them with, which can help them to grow well, to nurture the relationship which they share with you, and become accomplished adults in future. Let's move on and understand this a little bit more. So why happiness? Of course, if I ask any parent, what is that you want for your children? I think as a parent, our instant answer is that we want our children to be happy. हम चाहते हैं कि हमारे बच्चे हमेशा खुश रहें. This is the first thing which comes from a parent's mouth, right? As a blessing. Whenever somebody touches our feet, what is that we tell them, in our Indian culture? We say, Khush raho, right? So happiness is something which we all seek for. Happiness is something which we always want our loved ones to get in their life. So why happiness is because that's the basic need which every human needs. And happier children obviously are more likely to turn into successful, accomplished adults. And why is that so? When a child is happy, the child performs better, be it academics, be it anything. A happy mind, a happy child can handle emotions better. So when children face issues like, friends fighting with them, or say somebody bullying them, there are high chances that a child who is in a happy state of mind will be able to handle these emotions better, may be able to stand up for themselves, or at least will have, that courage to come back and speak to their parents about it. Then there could be other benefits, like they children who are in the happy state of mind, they learn faster. You may experience this whenever your children are happy and you ask them to study. Their retention rate is very higher, their learning is very faster because they are in their happy mode. Then they obviously turn out to be good at academics, they are more creative, and a study says that they are 12% more productive than a child who is in an unhappy state. So no matter what you do, okay, as a parent, a foundation, what you need to always remember is that if you want your child to be good at academics, if you want your child to be good at creativity, if you want your child to be better at handling emotions, be strong, stand up for themselves, have certain values which they could display out, you need to keep them in a happy state, in a happy mode. We are going to talk about what is that you can do to keep your child in a happiness state always. We're going to learn that in our future slides. But understand the importance of happiness. Happiness, if not taken seriously, can lead to a lot of negative symptoms in children as well. So families or where parents are constantly fighting can result into a lot of unhappy mood in a child. In a family where, especially a joint families, when there are a lot of quarrels, there are a lot of conflicts going on, this can impact the child and turn the child into an unhappier state. Now, is there a, what can you do? Can you get away from these problems and quarrels which happen at home? No, you cannot. But as a parent, you can always control the state of your child to a greatest possible extent. So some parents might be thinking or feeling right now that in my family, I stay in a joint family where there are grandparents, there are uncles, aunts, and when there are too many people in the house, there are too many opinions which come over a child. There could be too many conflicts over a child. Now, this can lead to an unhappy state in your child. But as a parent, if you decide to take charge of your child and if you decide to take control of your child's state, nobody can stop you. So I would urge parents who are into these difficult situations, don't give up. You can still control the state of your child and take control or take charge in your hand, irrespective there are a lot of influences which happen in and around by other family members in your respective homes. Now let's move on to the next slide. Before we get on to understand what are the 5 things we can do as parents, let's first understand or evaluate or introspect what is your parenting situation right now. We're going to talk about 5 signs which you can probably see, find, hear with your children to know whether you are on the right parenting track. And even if you don't find these signs, please don't get bogged down. Please don't get worried. Whatever we have, spoken to you in our previous series, if you start implementing those things, you will see that you will start finding these signs very soon. So please don't get disheartened if you don't find all these signs in your parenting right now. Okay. As we remember, we spoke about anytime you can restart and restart. When you restart it in the right way, you will see these signs coming up very soon. So the first sign is if your child displays emotions in front of you. So if your child is coming and sharing and talking or speaking about the kind of emotions your child is feeling inside them to you, which means that your child accepts you as a great parenting style which you've adopted. Your child is in great rapport with you, because sharing emotions, for a child to share emotions with someone, that child needs to be trusting you completely. The child needs to be in rapport with you. And so if your child is coming and displaying emotions and sharing things with you, then kudos, then your parenting is definitely on the right track. The second sign which you need to observe is that when your child is hurt or when your child faces a problem, especially a rejection, yeah, if the child comes and talks to you about that particular issue, yeah, when a child falls down, the child obviously will come to a parent and discuss that I fell down and this happened and that happened. But I know there are a lot of children who do not go to their parents, especially when they fall, because they think that my parents are going to scold me because I fell down, I was not careful. There are parents who probably say to their children that when you go out to play, if you hurt yourself and come back, you will be abandoned from going down the next time. Now, this builds in a lot of fear in the child. It's good to tell your children to be careful, to take care of themselves so that they don't hurt themselves, but it's not good to scare your children so that so that they stop coming and telling you when they get hurt. When external injuries, if they cannot come and tell you about, then forget about their internal emotions and injuries which they will come up and speak to you about. So if your children come to you, no matter how small that wound or hurt is, which means you are in rapport with your child and your child trusts you completely and comes and discusses it with you. And of course, when a child faces a rejection, maybe at school, maybe in a project, or if your child didn't get a chance to probably participate in the next activity which school was hosting, and the child feels bad about it and comes and discusses it with you, and lets all the emotion out, maybe anger, maybe the child says that a student was taken, I wasn't taken, I'm better than that student, etc., etc. If the child comes and discusses, then also this is a sign that your child is in rapport with you and really, really likes sharing things with you. The third sign is that the child discusses thoughts and feelings without being judged. So if you have grown up children, say in the age group of say 13 onwards, and if they come and uh, talk about their probably their bodily aspects, like mama, I don't like the way I look, right? If they're coming and talking to you about it, and you are encouraging your child and explaining them that looks don't matter, and this is the way you should look at yourself because you have a lot of other qualities in you, without being judgmental. Okay, if your child comes and discusses their thoughts and feelings, how they feel about themselves, how they feel about a particular situation, especially with grown up kids, there are issues like attraction, infatuations, because today children are growing up maturing faster. This is not the appropriate age for them to start feeling these emotions, but because of so much of exposure, children are feeling these emotions at an earlier age these days. So when they come and talk, are they coming and talking to you about these thoughts and feelings? And if you're not judging them, and if you're being speaking to them in a very non-judgmental way, and they keep coming to you again and again for everything, that means your parenting is definitely on the right track. The next sign which you need to look at is that if you aren't labeling your child, so when your child does something absolutely wrong, and you as a parent, if you're labeling your child, say for example, you are naughty, you are useless, you are like this only, you are a liar, you always do this, you always do that. If as a parent you're constantly labeling your child, then that's not a right sign to be. But if as a parent you're not using these labeled words, yeah, if you're not using these labeled words, then you are on the right parenting track. But if you are using these words, I would urge every parent to stop labeling your children, because when you label your children, you tamper their self identity, their image, their confidence. And the fifth and the last one is, are you repairing your mistakes as a parent? So the first 3 pointers were more related to the child coming to you and talking about their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, their failures, their rejections. The fourth one was more about you as a parent labeling your child continuously. And the fifth one is also concerned with parenting, whether you're repairing your mistakes. So for example, if you yelled at your child unnecessarily, maybe it could have been handled in a better way. Do you go back to your child and say sorry for that particular behavior? If you're doing that, then you are on the right parenting track. But if you're not doing that, in spite of realizing, and you're keeping your ego as a parent and not going back and repairing your mistakes with children, then you should rethink about it and start repairing your mistakes, because children understand everything. Children can understand your emotions more than anybody else can. So if you are in this thought that, okay, I yelled at my child and my child doesn't even know that I yelled unnecessarily, you are mistaken. Children understand everything. Over and above your emotions, they can get into your heart, mind, and soul, because after all, they are your children. So as a parent, if you are observing these 5 signs, then you are definitely on the right track. You have a great rapport with your child trusts you completely, and your child will definitely be in a happy state. But if you see any of these as wrongs, I would urge every parent to go back and see what you can do to correct these and come on the right parenting track. Ekta, before we move forward to the 5 steps, if there are any questions, I could take them.
No, nothing at the moment. It's
All
pretty
right.
clear. Yeah.
All right, great. Okay, so we move on and we understand what are the 5 steps to raise a happy child. The first and the most important thing in every child is the child's self image. It's the most important. Go back as parents and think when you were children, what mattered to you. Of course, your identity mattered to you. And today also, as grown-ups, our identity matters to us, right? We like to be, probably thought in a very positive way. We want people to think good about ourselves. We want people to appreciate us. We want people to think positive about us. With children, this requirement is also very high. Now, unfortunately, when children become or cross the age of say 7 or 8 onwards, uh, their behavior suddenly change, right? They, from crawling and just moving around, they suddenly start running, jumping, gadgeting, talking, demanding. And that's when we as parents start pulling our hair out and say, oh my God, what's happening now? How do I handle this? Of course, we have learned many techniques in our past series where we have spoken about all these aspects. But what happens during this period is that as parents, we constantly tamper our children's image by labeling them, as we just understood. Yeah. We start constantly comparing them with others. There are many things which we do unknowingly. We don't decide as parents that we want to tamper the self-image of our child, but we do it unknowingly. So we're going to know more about it. However, let's understand what self-image is. Self-image definition, or the simple way to understand what self-image is that it means the way you think about yourself and your role in the world. So, if as a child, if I think positive about myself, and if as a child I feel that, yay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to conquer the world, or I'm going to add value to the world, or I'm going to become a doctor and I'm going to treat all the poor, patients, etc. These are these are the values, or these are the self identity positive elements which are there in a child. Yeah. However, what happens is most of the children lack this because of certain reasons. Now, what are those reasons? The reasons for damaged self image starts within our homes. Everybody may not agree. They may say, no, we don't do this, but we do this very, very unknowingly. The first and the most important thing what we do as parents is we compare our children a lot, especially when you have siblings. You end up comparing them with their brothers or sisters, cousins, neighbors, classmates, and comparison is mostly on academics. Look at your friend has got such great marks. Look at your friend, he or she is so disciplined. Look at your friend, he or she is following XYZ rules, etc. etc. When you compare a child, you actually damage the self-image of the child. The child feels that I'm good for nothing. Nobody loves me, nobody likes me. I think I don't need to do anything about it, or I don't need to do anything which is going to, make a difference to the world, or I could become a role model for someone. So comparison is the worst thing which we can do to our children. And I urge everyone, if you're doing that, please stop comparing your children to anyone. Lack of appreciation. Yes, there are times when we actually don't take time out to appreciate our children. We may appreciate our children just walking, talking here and there, which is also good. You should be doing that. But there are times when children want to sit and listen to your appreciation. Children want appreciation at everything they do. You must have observed that when you ask them to do something and they do it, they are so excited to come and talk to you about it and let you know that, okay, see, mama, you told me to do this, I've done this, and plus I have done that. Now at that moment, if you are busy, of course, if you're busy, you will have to tell your child, okay, listen, you come back to me later, we're going to do this. There are some parents who don't even do that. They might just say that, hey, listen, don't come to me right now, I'm busy, I cannot do this right now. This takes the child 10 steps back, and maybe the child may not attempt doing something the next time you tell them. So appreciation is something which children want, and they look for it in every step they take. So that's one area, or one way we can damage self image of a child. And of course, we parents sometimes put a lot of pressure on their children to excel, especially in academics. Even if they are not academics, if their children are creative, they push them beyond limits for to prove or to make them excel on whichever field they are in. You need to understand that children, whatever children do, if they are dancing, they're singing, they're acting, they don't do it with a purpose in mind. For them, it gives them happiness, it gives them that joy which comes from doing that particular activity. The purpose we create as parents, we tell them that, listen, if you do this well, you can participate in this competition, you can make Guinness World Records, and you can do this, you can do that. Those purpose we create as parents, but their purpose is enjoy, love, be happy in what they're doing. So it's important to create this purpose in your children, but do not put too much of pressure for them to excel in it, because you want them to achieve this purpose which has been created by you as parents. So these are some of the reasons. Ekta, is there any question, or can I go ahead? Now, what
Please.
are the side effects? What are the side effects of a tampered self-image or a self-identity? Your children will feel jealous. If it's a sibling comparison, you will always see that they will never get along. They will never get along. They will have a lot of rivalry between them. There'll be constant fights. There'll be a lot of anxiety. There'll be a lot of fear when a child does not have a great self-image about themselves, especially when a child is obese. Children who are obese, they feel very inferior as compared to others. And sometimes I have seen parents comparing them with other children, saying that, listen, because you are eating XYZ, you're like this, and your other friend does not do XYZ, that's why your other friend is like this. That's the worst thing we can do to, help our children to fight obesity. There are a lot of other things which you can do, to help your child fight obesity. And those are positive, reinforcement aspects. And if you want your child to fight obesity, the first thing what you need to do is improve your child's self-image. If you don't do that, you will never see your child coming out of that problem. So fear and of course, lack of confidence. And you will see that a child who has a lower self-esteem or an image, they will have a lot of lack of confidence. They will not be able to stand up for themselves. They'll be constantly bullied. They'll be having a lot of issues in their studies. They will not be participative, and they will speak very, very less. The conversations, their communications will be very, very less. Or those children will be super hyper because that's the only way they can let out their emotions. So these are some of the reasons, these are some of the side effects which low self-esteem can bring in. Now, what can you do? Okay, so the first step is building your child's self-image. What can you do to build in your child's self-image? The first thing is stop comparing them. Every child is unique as your fingerprint. Remember this, every child is unique as your fingerprint. So stop comparing them. Everybody has their positives and their negatives. Let them feel that they are one in themselves. And always, when you want to give a feedback, talk about them, talk about only them, and do not compare them. The second thing which you should avoid is to scold them in public, or scream at them or shout at them in public. That's the worst thing you can do to tamper your child's image. The third thing is identify the reasons which is causing a lack of self-image in your child. As I said, the first reason is within our homes. Our labeling attitude as parents, as extended family members, creates this problem. Our attitude of constantly comparing them creates this problem. So these are internal aspects. Also look at external aspects. Are there any other reasons because of which your child is having a low self-esteem? There could be friends bullying them. There could be some kind of, comparison which probably is happening in school or amongst their friends. So find out, talk to them. If you see your child in a mode which is not very positive, not very communicative, find out the external reasons as well to know what's impacting them. Support them, be with them to fight this out. If it's an external reason, be with them, understand what you can do as a parent to help them and support them to get out of this identity issue. And there is an NLP exercise which I'm going to talk about right now, in how as a parent you can do it on a regular basis with your child to help your child bring back the self-image or the lost self-identity which the child may have. We're going to talk about this in few seconds. Before that, also daily affirmations. Remember, we spoke about daily affirmations where you talk about positive self-beliefs to your child, that I am self-sufficient, I can do anything, I am disciplined, I'm good at my studies. We had created a list of affirmations. Those affirmations bring in a lot of positive reinforcement if you do it with your child every day, and it works directly on the neurons. It gives signals to your brains, positive reiterating or repeating positive beliefs to yourself gives direct signals to your brains, and it helps you to feel those positive elements in your body, and you end up behaving in a positive way. So it's very, very scientific. That's why please, I urge every parent that start daily affirmations if you have not started so. Then there is a very beautiful exercise called what if in NLP. So whenever your child comes to you that, listen, mama, dada, mama, I'm not able to run faster. My sports day is coming up. I cannot run fast. I think I'm going to lose it. There is this one word you should use and question your children on the same aspect. So what you do is you just ask them, what if you could run faster? Ask them this question, what if you could run faster? Or if your child comes to you and says that tomorrow is my maths exam, I don't know what I'm going to do, I just hate maths, I can't do it, etc., etc. Ask them a question, what if you were good at maths? That's the first step. The next step is ask them to imagine that if they were good at running, how would they run? This is a visualization technique which you can use with your children, where you make them imagine this step by step. So first you ask them, what if you could run as fast as a cheetah? So your child will be definitely excited. Then you ask them that if you could run fast, how would you look? Ask your child to imagine how that your child will look. What will be your child's posture? What will your child look like while he's running? How will your child walk? How will your child talk? So you have to ask these questions to your child. So I'm going to again repeat this. What if you could run faster as a cheetah? How would you look like? How would you walk? How would you talk? What can you see around? What can you see around when you're running faster? Do you see people cheering for you? Ask your child to imagine all this. What's happening when you're finishing the race, when you're reaching first at the race line? What's happening after that? Do you see lifting yourself the trophy? Do you see after you lift the trophy what happens? Is everybody cheering for you? Are all your teachers appreciating you? Are your parents coming running towards you and hugging you? Ask your child to imagine all this. First, your child will imagine this at a very slow pace. Then you repeat the same process. Ask the same question again, and this time ask them to imagine it in a 3D form. Children love imagining in 3D form. So ask them to add colors in it, ask them to add some light in it, and see when you're lifting the trophy, can you see some rainbow lights coming, flashing out of the trophy? Put some lights in it, put some 3D images in it, and imagine again. And once you've done that, repeat this once again. At least repeat this thrice, this exercise, where you again ask them to imagine the same thing with sounds. Can you hear what your teacher is exactly telling you? Can you hear what announcement is happening? And the first prize goes to Mr. or Miss so and so. Can you hear that? Hear that right now with me. So when you ask your child to do this exercise where you have involved the visual, the auditory, and the kinesthetic, where you've asked the child to see, to hear, to feel, the entire body gives great signals to the mind, and the child automatically, you will see that your child's state from a negative to a low confidence stage will reach up to a very high confidence stage. And you will see that when you keep doing this exercise again and again with your child, you will see your child's self image towards a particular situation, or towards a particular subject, or towards a particular emotion will keep transforming and keep changing. So this is one of the technique which you can use with your child. It comes with practice. So parents, when you do this, just don't feel that once you will do this and it's going to transform your child. No, you'll have to keep using this as a way of life. So whenever your child comes to you with a problem that, listen, mama, I can't draw this, instead of sitting with them and tell them to draw and teach them how to draw, try do this what if exercise with them once, and then tell them, okay, now let's see how you can draw this. I'm telling you, most of the parents will come back to me and say that from A point, we have seen that our child has reached to a B point, where the child has himself even put in efforts to make that drawing, which my child was not putting in earlier before doing this exercise. So try this in multiple times, multiple situations, and make this as a way of life going forward. What if is a beautiful exercise. It helps children think in a very, very positive direction, and especially when you ask them to think, imagine it in a 3D way, put colors, put lights, their imagination just goes over the top. And the best part is that whenever that incident happens the next time, their mind will automatically revolve this visualization exercise which you've done with them, and then mind will automatically start pushing them to do that activity with great confidence and with great, having a great self image about themselves. So try this and share your comments with me. Ekta, can we move ahead, or any questions so far?
No question, but yeah, we have a comment from Monica that imagination indeed is a very powerful tool for kids. And I think why just kids, even as adults, if we start imagining and think, the kind of picture that we wish to create, I'm sure, it's going to help parents also move in that direction. Because if you want the child to start imagining, you first need to do that with your own self also, that you imagine that the child will do it. That positive affirmations, I think, are also needed for parents themselves also.
Yes.
Because I feel most often than not, when you keep trying and it doesn't get you any result, that's when the frustration sets in.
True.
And children have this beautiful knack of really pushing it to the T, where they they will constantly badger you for something, and that's when you start losing it. So that affirmations for your own self also, I think, are very
Yes.
important.
Yes, absolutely, Ekta. In fact, we spoke about, changes which parents need to bring in, and affirmations was one of the most important aspect. Thanks for reminding and, bringing this up here that, yes, every parental journey first starts with changing themselves and then changing the children. Remember, we've been speaking about this all through our series, and affirmations is the best way to, start from, wherever you are today. Affirmations is the best way. It can help you to fine tune, retune, restart yourself in whichever journey you are right now. And yes, Ekta, what if exercise is not only meant for children, it is also meant for adults. In fact, I, as an NLP coach, I help a lot of career professionals to use this technique and achieve their goals, their dreams, which they are pursuing. So, for example, if somebody wants to write a book, what if technique works. If somebody wants to prepare for a particular project which they are not confident about, they feel that I don't think I can do this project. With the what if exercise, I have helped a lot of career professionals also to be confident about their projects, be confident about going on the stage and doing public speaking, etc. So what if exercise is meant for everyone, not only for children. Thanks for bringing that up. And yes, even
Absolutely.
parents must try that out.
Absolutely.
Great. So here a very important part is that your child has to believe in him or herself. If you want your child to be successful, to be, becoming great adults when they grow up, belief in themselves is the foundation. And you as parents, 100% have the ability, and your contribution is 100% to create this self-image in your children. Again, I'm repeating, if you're living in families which are more than just mom and dads, and there are grandparents, uncles, aunties, and where there are a lot of opinions, it gets very difficult for parents to handle their children, because there'll be a lot of other views which come your way. However, when you are in rapport with your child, however, if you are constantly building self image of your child, you will see that your child will only and only be influenced by you. So if you want to do that, if you want to make sure that your child doesn't get lost in so many people back home, build rapport with your child, give 100% towards building the image of your child, and you will see that your child will only be influenced by you and no one else. Yeah. So let's move on to the next and the second most important aspect, which we have spoken earlier as well, but it's a very important aspect in building a happy, in creating a happy child, is having an ultimate bond with your child. We remember we spoke about that human beings, we understand through 55% of physiology, 38% through voice, and only 7% through words. However, we do the exact opposite. When we communicate with our children, we communicate more with words and less of tonality and less of physiology, which is body movements. So we spoke about building rapport earlier as well. I'm going to repeat this right now as well, that the ultimate way to bring up a happy child is to build rapport with your child, to be building a bond with your child. And we already have discussed how to build a rapport with your child. We spoke about the mirroring activity, where you copy your child, their bodily movement, their tonality, their way, the way they speak to you, the way they walk, the way they talk. Once you start mirroring them, your child will start seeing themselves in you, and it will become a best way to communicate with them. Because when a child sees themselves in you, they feel that you are just a mirror to them, and whatever you tell them, they will listen to you, they will understand, they will not come back to you with a negative response, they will come back to you with questions. But the style of questioning will change once you start applying the mirroring technique or the rapport building technique. So here, second step, I think Ekta, we've already spoken about it earlier, so I'm not going to go into the technique of it once again. But as simple as that, just keep mirroring your children. If you want them to listen to you when in a especially in situations where they are arguing, they're not listening to you at all, step into their shoes, enter into their world, see what they see, hear what they hear, feel what they feel, and just mirror them. And you will see instantly they will start mirroring you, and they will start listening to what you want to tell them. And once they start mirroring you, that's the time you will know that they have built rapport, or they have started building a bond with you. So As a parent, you walk, talk, mirroring your child, and you will see so much of difference in your child. It's a personal experience. It's an experience from many, many parents, which I'm sharing this with you. Start practicing one day of mirroring your child, just full day from morning to evening. Just mirror your child and see how your child will come back to you with so much of love, and you will receive maximum hugs that day. It's an experiment which has been done, and it's also a real life experience. You will see when you mirror your children from morning to evening, your hugs and your kisses ratios will increase, and you will see your child coming to you and talking more often, your child coming to you and sharing things, discussing things, listening to you more. This is a magical exercise. Parents, please try this, and I would love to hear your feedback, when you implement this. And of course, be genuine. Children understand when you're not genuine with them. So if you are genuine, that's when the bond will build up. Yeah. So please be genuine when you're doing the mirroring activity with them. Let's move ahead.
Yes, please.
All right. Yes. The third important aspect to raise a happy child is to set simple and realistic goals. Children do not understand the word no, because we remember we spoke about this, they cannot build an image of the word no. Similarly, children's brain are not effective to you visualize a bigger goal. So if you set bigger goals for them, they may get confused and they are more likely not to reach them. That's why in NLP, there is a technique called chunking. Chunking means nothing in simpler terms. It means just creating milestones, smaller milestones. Chunk the goals into smaller milestones when you want your child to do or achieve something. Please encourage them to dream and aspire. They can have 100 goals at a time. So if I ask my daughter today, what do you want to become? She will say 5 things, which is okay. Yeah, because they are aspiring, they're dreaming, they are understanding what they want to be. They're not sure what they want to be in future, but their goals and their dreams and aspirations will keep changing every day. However, certain goals, like for example, if you want your child who's probably very average in academics, there are certain parents who expect that their child should, they put them on tuitions and their academic scores should, hit the roof types. That's a very wrong way to push your child to achieve something. If you want your child to excel, it's very important that you create milestones for them. So, for example, if today your child is scoring, say, a 60%, and you think your child's capability is much beyond that, first thing first is sit down with your child, build a rapport with your child, and let them know that their capability is much more than what they are performing or they are doing today. And as a parent, you would want them to try and at least see whether your capability matches to that or not. That's one. Second step is don't straight away push them to move from a 60% to a 90%. It will not happen. It will not happen. They may only break down, or they may take a lot of unnecessary pressure, which can again self damage their identity. It can lead to negative emotions inside them. It can lead to lack of non confidence, and they can also be very fearful of studying, especially. So in this case, what you do is you design a goal which where you tell your child, okay, we are at 60 today, let's try and do a 70 in the next test. Yeah, reach till there. Once your child reaches till 70, your child will also understand that, okay, I have this capacity to actually push myself and reach a 70. Then you actually sit down with your child again and then aim for an 80, and then so on and so forth. If you directly put pressure on your child from a 60 to 90, your child will not be able to take it, and it can create undue pressure on your child's brain, health, and mind and body as well. So chunking is a very, very important aspect when it comes to helping your child to reach their goals, be it goals related to studies, creativity, or anything whatsoever. Yeah, if you're probably trying to create a reading habit in your child, don't expect your child to read one book a month. A lot of parents, they talk to me about how do we build a reading habit in our children. We tell them that you are supposed to read one book in a month, and they give them an ultimatum and say that if you don't read it, then XYZ. I tell the parents that that's the wrong way to do it. You start with 1 page a day, or you start with X number of pages in a month. Yeah, or you start with X stories in a month. That's how you chunk it down for them, so that their mind can visualize and imagine that, okay, yeah, this is possible. From 60 to 70, I'm just 10 steps away. Oh yes, this is possible. When they when their brain accepts the possibility, you will see that they'll put in their heart, mind, body, and soul to achieve that goal which you have given or which you have asked them to do. So this is a very great strategy. It's like a great plan which you can create for your children in a lot of aspects. Yeah, as I said, academics, creativity, anything, sports, for that matter, whatever they want to do in life. Now, these are the quick, simple steps. Break down their goals into simpler milestones, as we spoke about. Okay, I gave an example that from 60 to 90 is a wrong way to help your child achieve their goals. 60 to 70, 70 to 80, and so and so. You need to do that. And of course, whenever you are working on you're working on with your child to achieve their goals, it's important that you also work on heightening their vak means their visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Now, what are the ways to do it? Of course, the visualization exercise, which we just spoke about, that is one of the best ways. What if technique is one. The second way. The third way is through a lot of games, which you can make your children increase their visual, auditory, kinesthetic abilities. I'll give you a simple game which you can try and experiment with your children. Get some objects, all objects which are probably there, smaller objects which are there in your home, and keep them on a table. So like book, pencil, sharpener, eraser, arrange them in a particular order. Tell your child to have a look at that particular order once, and then ask them to close their eyes and then rearrange that order. And then again, ask them to open their eyes and tell you what has been shuffled. This way, you will be able to increase your child's visual abilities. This will help them to keep increasing their visual abilities. So you can keep playing these games not only with with objects. You can keep playing this with shapes. If you have smaller children, you can take fruits, you can take blocks, you can take shapes, you can take anything what's available in your home and try doing this exercise. Do this exercise at least twice or thrice a week, and you will see that your child's visual mode is becoming better and better. How do you enhance your child's auditory mode? There is a very simple game which you can play again. You can just take, say, 3-4 bowls and fill water in them. Take a small stick, yeah. Fill the water in different measurements. Like one bowl should be probably empty. The second bowl should be 1/4 filled. Then the third bowl should be 3/4 filled, and the last one should be completely filled. Now, help make sounds with the stick on each bowl and ask them to listen to these sounds. Then after that, ask them to turn around or close their eyes or tie a blind spot on their eyes. And again, with the stick, probably knock on the fourth bowl and ask them which bowl the sound is coming from. Then try and do the second one, the third one, or the first one. This will help your child to develop their auditory skills. When you do these things on a regular basis, you will see that your child will automatically start improvising in their academics as well. Yeah. And even if your child is into creative mode, in creative field, your child will also benefit with this exercise in their creative field as well. Now, for the third one, how do you increase your child's kinesthetic, which is the feel aspect? This is a very beautiful game which you can play with your family. If you have 3 people in your family, because obviously you will need more than 3 people for this. So ask your child to first touch each family member's hand, like full completely feel the hand, right from the fingers and the fingers, the nails, and the back of the palm and the palm. Let your child feel the palms and the fingers in the hand of every family member. So if you have mama, papa, grandma, and grandma, let your child feel everybody's hands, fingers, and palms. After that, ask your child to close their eyes and then ask them to guess whose hand or palm they are touching. So you can just tell your grandmom to extend their hand and ask your child to touch your grandmom's hand and ask him to guess or her to guess whose hand this is. This will build your child's kinesthetic, which is the child's feeling abilities. So you can do this not only with somebody's hands and palms, you can also take some different kinds of cloths. So you may have a silk cloth, you may have a cotton, you may have a rough cloth at home. It's basically texture. Feeling is all about texture. So you can play these simple games with your children at home to enhance their VAK abilities. Yeah. So these are certain techniques which you can use to help your child heighten their senses so that they can bring in these benefits in their day-to-day life, in their academics, their creativity, in all their aspects. Yeah. So this is the third and the most important step is chunk down the goals, Don't put the biggest goal on their head, chunk it down, create milestones, constantly work on heightening their visual, auditory, and kinesthetic mode so that they can easily achieve their goals which you have set for them. Shall we move on, Ekta, if there are no questions?
Yes.
Great. The fourth one is to generate new behaviors. So you must be wondering that how can this make a child happy? Well, it's very important to understand how new behaviors can bring happiness to your children. When a child wants to, let's take an example, when a child wants to excel in a particular subject, of course, the child will child, and as a parent, you will create a milestone goal for your child. Now, when you create a milestone goal for your child, you will also create some behaviors which your child needs to support to achieve that particular goal. For example, they may have to study for extra time. They may have to probably give up, gadgets. If they are on gadgets for 3 hours in a day, they may have to cut it down to 1 hour a day. So these are certain behaviors which they will have to change about themselves in order to achieve that milestone or that realistic goal which you have set for your children. Now, do you think your children will accept these new behaviors just like that? They will not. They will question you that why should I spend extra time studying? Why should I give up my gadget time? What will happen if I do that? So there is this beautiful exercise which parents should do with their children before showing them off and saying that, listen, I'm not going to explain this to you because I have told you, you do it. There is an exercise called pains and gains. With smaller children, it's very difficult to do this under 4 5 years. It's very difficult to do this, but with bigger children, which is age group of 8+, it beautifully works. Whenever you want to generate a new behavior in your child, ask them to write down the pains and gains of that particular behavior. So if you want your child to cut down on, say, junk food, you ask them to write about what are the pains of eating junk food and what are the gains of not eating junk food. If you want your child to stay away from gadget, please let them write down the pains which are associated with high gadget time and the gains which are associated with the low gadget time. Yeah. So when you make them write this, and when they see it in front of them, and when they write it, please place it in a way, in a form where they can see it on a daily basis. They may not read it, but whenever children write something with their own handwriting, even if they may not read it every day, even if it is in front of their eyes, it's a reminder to the brain that, listen, I have written this, which means I understand and I accept this. So this works very, very scientifically, with their brain. Let them write the pains and the gains, and you will see that the acceptability of generating these new behaviors will be higher than you just telling them that you need to do this because you need to do this. Yeah. So this is a different way. This pains and gains is an exercise which can help your children to accept behaviors in a positive way rather than just doing it for the sake of it, or because my parents are going to scold me, shout at me, or they fear something. It's a worse thing to happen rather than they doing something with their own will, because the output will be positive. Their the willingness to do that will also be very, very positive. You will also see that once your child writes the pains and gains, as I said, they become accountable towards it. And if you keep it in front of their eyes every day, it sets in as a reminder, and slowly and steadily it becomes a way of life. Let's move on to the last one, which is very and most important, is that we need to teach them to handle stress and create daily happiness for themselves. Children actually don't need to be taught how to create happiness, to be very, very, honest here. They know how to be happy in any and every situation. Yeah. But however, certain children may need this support, especially when there are conflicts at home. There are some, parenting troubles between couples. There will be a lot of situations which will probably stop your child from creating daily happiness. So, as a parent, you need to identify whether your child is facing this issue. And if your child is facing this issue, please contribute towards creating daily happiness in their lives. How can you do this? All these steps are again back to square one, what we have learned so far. So, it will be like a summary. So, but I'm going to still talk about it. However, let's talk about what can be stressful situations for children. So stressful situations for children who are in the age group of 8+, maybe friendship, disappointments, rejections, studies, bullying, lot of other things, social media, the way they look, yeah, their body weight, their hair, their eyes, their fingers, their nails. It can be anything about their body which It can be anything about related to their emotions as well. Yeah. Children who are little, like in the 3 or 4 or 5 age group of category, they don't really take stress, however, but there is a sense of fear which can develop in little children when there are a lot of conflicts at home. And that can lead to a lot of stress in little children. So you need to constantly be aware as a parent that whether your child is stressed or not. And these are the signs where you can see when your child is not communicating well, when your child is refusing to go and play downstairs with other friends, or when your child is sharp and intelligent but suddenly has dropped in academics. Yeah. Your child doesn't want to talk to anyone, doesn't want to socialize, doesn't want to probably sometimes even watch TV for that matter, or is watching TV too much or playing on gadgets a bit too much, could be signs and symbols that your child is slightly stressed. So look for these signs and help them as a parent to create daily happiness. Now, how can you create that daily happiness? Is the first and the most fundamental foundational step is build their self-image. If you keep their self-image intact, trust me, you don't have to tell your children how to be happy. Because when they accept themselves, they'll always be able to fight whatever comes their way, be it bullying, be it rejections, be it anything. Yeah. So that's one. Second is be in rapport with your child through the mirroring technique which we discussed. Mirroring technique is a magical pill. It works like magic. Yeah. If you are adopting that technique, you will see that your bond with your child is getting better and better. You will see that your rapport with your child is getting better and better, and your child is continuously coming back to you for sharing their emotions, talking to you, communicating with you, sharing what happened with them, as well as what happened with their friends. Yeah. So there are so many signs you will see once you start adopting the rapport building technique. Thirdly, don't judge them. I think we started the first session we started was that see what they see, hear what they hear, feel what they feel from their map of the world, not from your map of the world. So don't judge them every time in whatever they do. Yeah. Stop labeling them, because that can also be very, very dangerous for a child's self identity. Let them find ways. Okay. As parents, we obviously want our child to do things in a particular way, but it's not important for a child to do things in a particular way you think. Let them find ways. If they come to you with problems, it's very easy to just give them a solution and walk away. Let them find the solutions to those problems. Yeah. Let them experiment, let them explore, let them fail couple of times, so that they can come to solutions which are self created. Yeah. Teach them to be self sufficient. The best thing you can teach your children is to be self sufficient. Create independent children. Yeah. Let them be independent in their actions, in their thoughts, in their deeds. Yeah. Don't give them ready solutions, because I know we are all stressed with time. We don't have time. We are working. We're doing so many things. We end up doing a lot of things for our children, on our own, because we want to save time. But try and see, as much as you can, let them find their way, let them find their solutions. Yeah. It may be tough now, but when eventually they grow up, your parenting will be a easier parenting if you teach them a solution oriented method rather than just a dependent method. Yeah. And that's why I'm going to talk about solution or growth oriented mindset. I'm sure a lot of parents today are seeing a lot of advertisements which talk about growth mindset, not only for children, but even for grown-ups. We are talking about having a growth mindset. People are saying if you want to become an entrepreneur in future, you need to have a growth mindset from childhood, early childhood. Yeah. So what is this growth mindset? This growth mindset is nothing but having solutions to the problems which you create. These solutions should be yours. Solutions should be created by you. When you teach children to create solutions, their journey towards life becomes easier. Their journey towards life becomes much more exploratory and positive. So growth mindset, solution mindset is something which you should always focus on when you are upbringing your children. Yeah. With NLP, you can do this at an early age. And how you can do this is we have learned so many techniques. The what if technique, yeah, the pains and games techniques. All these techniques eventually are teaching them to think of their own solutions, to ideate, to brainstorm. And eventually it creates a growth mindset in your children. There is one more exercise which is called the the movie director exercise, which you can do with your children. Whenever your children come with a problem to you, just ask them, what if you were a movie director of this problem? Okay, if this is a problem, assuming this is a, you have to create a movie out of this problem, how would you do that? How would your movie look like? How will it begin? What will be the problems which will be coming in the way? What will be the solutions, and how will your movie end? You make your child a movie director with that problem, and tell your child to come up with a solution like a movie, and you will see that your child will be able to map solutions when you teach your child to think like a movie director. So it is termed in many different ways. It's called a hero visualization technique. It's called a star visualization technique. But my personal favorite is a movie director visualization technique, because children love movies. Yeah, you can always tell them that you are, say, a Disney movie director, and this is a problem. You've come to me. Tell me, how would you direct this movie? How would you solve this problem in your movie where you are the director? And tell them what will be the problems, what will be the solutions, and what will be the ending. And you will see how beautifully they will come up with so many ideas that will help them to create a solution or a growth oriented mindset from early childhood, which is going to help them in future forever in their personal as well as in their corporate or their career aspects. So Ekta, this is for today. These are the five beautiful steps which we can implement as parents to nurture our children and always keep them in a happy state. There is one small video which I would want to even play, but before that, if there are any questions, I would love to hear.
How easy it is to implement, like when you, especially when you're talking about the movie director visualization, or what if, if else kind of situation that we all also face during our job environment and everything, especially with smaller children, where they perhaps are yet to understand what it means to take onus of things, or
Yes.
that you are responsible for all that you do, be it good, bad, or whatever the situation may be, right? So
Yes.
that's my first part of the question. The other part is that children at times become very adamant, right? And so do parents, right? I won't call it that it is the clashes of the ego over here, but there is a certain amount of stubbornness or adamantness from both sides, and neither of them is willing to budge. Okay, in such a situation, how do you choose the battles, and how do you convey to the child that, look, you are responsible for what you do? Because if you put it on them, then also they are whining and cribbing and crying. If you take charge of it, then also they are doing it. So how do you get out of this catch 22 situation?
So, so I'll answer the second question first, Ekta. So when children are adamant, and so even parents are adamant equally at that time. Remember, we spoke about this, that with children there are no battles. So firstly, parents have to change their mindset about thinking that with children somebody has to win the battle. Let's accept one fact here, that uh, parents may not win all the time. Yeah. However, it's not about winning and losing. It's about teaching your children certain things which you want them to learn and you want them to understand, because it's important for them. So there are two things which, in such situation where the child is absolutely adamant, the parent is explaining, trying, but the child is just adamant. Now the parent has also become adamant that if you don't do this, then you're not going to get this, etc., etc. Now the way to handle this is that, first thing first is that the parent should proactively mirror the child immediately. Okay, I'm going to give you all NLP solutions right now, Ekta. Okay, because I think now it's time that we have learned in 4 series what we have learned about NLP. Let's use these techniques in our day-to-day life. So the first NLP technique which I would recommend in this situation is to mirror your child. Yeah, completely mirror your child, but in a very positive way. If your child is screaming, shouting, throwing things and all, don't try and avoid that. Avoid catch up with their tone, catch up with their maybe tears, catch up with their expressions. Yeah, get into the mirroring technique and tell them the same thing again. Yeah, it may work, it may not work immediately. And if it works, then wonderful. If it doesn't work, then you need to walk away from there. You need to walk away and say that, hey, listen, we have discussed this. I think probably you need some time to understand this. So I'm going to let you decide. You're very responsible, and just walk away from them without even listening to your child. Okay? Walk away, but in a very positive way, not in a negative way. I assure you, your child will come back after 5 minutes and say that I understand what you were saying and I'm going to do it. But if parents are thinking that battles can be won at that very moment, no, it will not happen. Yeah, we will have to take breaks. We will have to walk away in such situations and let the child grasp, understand what all is happening around me. What was my mama saying? Okay, my mama was saying this, my dada was saying this. Okay, the last words I heard from my mama is that I'm responsible. I know this is good for me. They will recall all this, and their brain starts working immediately. After you walk away, they start thinking what happened, and that's when they will recall these words and they will come back to you, if not the same day, the next day or the next day. Yeah, because your aim is to create a behavior, right? Your aim is to create that behavior, so for on a long term basis. So this is something which we can try with children who are adamant about certain things. Yeah. Ekta, can you repeat the first question? You were saying that what if exercises, how do you do with children, right?
So, no. So my question was that, when you talk about the visualization technique,
Yeah.
this, especially the younger ones, they still cannot visualize,
Yes. Yes.
how a growth mindset is going to work. Like, supposing, like, for example, being fearful about something which doesn't exist, but it's just a kind of a castle that they have built in the air, that nahi hame dar lagta hai,
Right.
right? And there is nothing to be scared of, but that's just an excuse to not do something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go there and do this because I am fearful.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you or for that matter, when you put the responsibility on them, they're pretty much correlated. But to change the child's mindset, the child first needs to understand that there is benefit for me in this.
Yes.
But
Yes.
these 3 or 4 years, where the transition from being a toddler to being under self control of, I can do it, like, I am independent type, though they are not totally. And that's where I think their probably frustration is a very strong word, but that's when their inability to do something sets in and they get bugged by that. And then
Yeah.
when you put it back on them, they're okay, fine, you want to do it, you do it, but you got to be careful, or certain things that you cannot do right now, but you have to learn. So
Mhm.
how do you teach them, or how do you guide them to be their own director of the movie?
Yes. So in little children's case, of course, it's going to be a lot of communication with them before you do this exercise with them or ask them to do it. With older children, you tell them that you are a director of a movie. This is your movie. How will you direct it? And then they get started. With very little children, which is under the age group of 5, you have to give them examples about, okay, do you like Moana, the movie Moana, or do you like the movie, say, Madagascar? Do you know who made this movie? This one made this movie. Yeah, that's the way you start communicating. You know how the person made the movie. The person had this particular problem, and then they thought of this particular problem, and that's when they created this movie where they solved this problem. Now you have given them this kind of a background, and if it's there, so pick up your favorite movie of your child. First, okay, talk about that movie in detail. Talk about problem and solution. Okay, how as the director of the movie has solved a problem and solution in that particular movie. And then when they come to you with a problem, remind them, remember we had discussed about this Madagascar movie where I told you about the movie director who solved a problem in this particular movie. Hey, would you like to become that movie director? That's when you ask them. And when you mostly children will say yes because they like animated movies. Yeah. If movie is not an example, you can take a book which your child likes. Or at this age group, children like picture books. Yeah. So
Yeah,
if
illustrator.
illustrated books, yeah, so there are so many books in this age group, like Pepper Pig and stuff like that, which has a lot of positive stories or morals to it. Pick up their favorite book and talk about that book and say that who created this book, how did they create this book, what was the problem of this book, what is the solution of the book. And then when they come to you with a problem, remind them of this conversation which you've had with them. Yeah. And tell them that, okay, you have this problem today. Do you want to become the director of your book or the writer of this book, and this is the problem which you have, how will you solve it? Let them communicate, ask them questions, okay, what will happen, then what will happen, then what will you do, well, how will the ending look like? And when they come to the ending, you will see that the ending has a solution to their problem. And they will automatically react and say, oh, yeah, this is what I was looking for, or this is how I could do. Or as a parent, you can make them realize, see, listen, you had a problem, you became a director, and you've solved this problem by your own self. This is your solution. Wonderful. Go ahead and implement it. So with small children, you could play around in this style to make them the director of their own movie. Yeah. So a lot of efforts goes in definitely with smaller children, but it's worth making that effort. Ekta, is what I will urge and tell every parent. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when you
Absolutely.
when you constantly work with your children with this kind of mindset where you keep making them movie directors, use what if techniques, use visualization techniques, you will see your children start communicating with you in that language. They will come and ask you, acha mama, today I have this problem, which technique are we going to use? You will see how positively they will start getting involved with you. Yeah, that way. So like, I'll give you an example. My daughter was not able to sleep last night. She comes and she tells me, can you tell something to my brain, and make it sleep so that I can sleep? Yeah. And then I told her to imagine certain things. I told her, what do you like? So she said, I like ice creams. I said, right now just close your eyes. Imagine you are in clouds, and all the clouds are little ice creams, and you're going and licking each ice cream, and you're feeling sleepy along with it. Yeah, like you're getting into a very relaxed mode and you're getting into a great sleep. And in 5 minutes, she slept. In the morning, she told me, I slept very well. So, children, when they see you as parents using these very different exciting techniques, they look up to you, to use those techniques in their daily lives as well. So this is my experience as a parent, and many parents who work with me, on NLP for their children, for themselves. It becomes a way of life when you start adopting these techniques. Yeah. So
Wow.
yes, yes. Any other questions? Any other comments, Ekta?
No, nothing really.
Great.
I guess it's
Okay.
quite self-explanatory.
Great. So I'm going to be, these are the five things which we can do to create happy children, what we've spoken about. I am just going to quickly talk about this humble book which I have written for parents, which has lot of information than what we have spoken already for the last 4 series. It also has some 10 top challenges as parents which we face, okay, in terms of with children, in terms of say sibling rivalry, in terms of self-image, which we've already discussed. In my book Awesome Parenting, I have put in a lot of detailed aspects about each of them, and I would request parents who would want to go and read this book. It's available on Amazon. Have a look and see for yourself, what are some techniques which you can use in your daily life, and adopt NLP as a parenting style, and see how beautifully your parenting style is going to transform. So please go have a look at it. It's available on Amazon. And lastly, a reminder, a complete reminder, for all the series which we have done, is that the first most important is, we spoke about, do not generalize, delete, or distort. So whenever your children are coming to you with something, step into their world, see what they see, hear what they hear, feel what they feel, and then accordingly give your reaction or your action. And don't react, respond, is something which we actually touched upon in the last session. Of course, we spoke about the parenting rules which we have found. We spoke about the 7 magical steps to restart your parenting, where we said that every parent can restart their parenting at any whichever situation or stage they are into. And of course, while you do all of this, remember always that it's important that you raise a happy child than a child who is, gets the best grades and, is part of every creative thing which is there out in the world. Yeah, all those things definitely are important and will happen. But focus on creating a foundation for your child, and foundation for your child is happiness. Every survey says that, every research says that happiness forms the first and the top priority when it comes to children and their growth aspects. And of course, parenting is a daily effort. So we have to work on it each day, every second. Yeah. So these are some simple reminders which I want to leave the parents with. And before we wind up, I'm going to play a short video, a very short video, which you will see soon. So Ika, with your permission, if we don't have questions, I could play the video as well.
Yes, please.
Great. Just give me a second. I'm just going to put up the video right now. So this is, am I audible, Ekta?
No,
Am I audible?
you are audible. Sorry.
Okay. So this is a small video which was a small experiment which was done with children, and where children were asked what makes them happy. So I'm going to just play a 30-second clipping out of this video. Just listen to the comments and see what you're going to listen now.
When I get out my house.
Babies.
Happy face. And presents. I have a purple squishy.
What makes you happy?
Not doing homework, especially math. When I get to watch TV shows with my family.
When I'm around my family every day.
They're very loving to me and they always support me.
What makes me happy is when like my parents are happy. So like when I do things with them and they smile, I get to smile. And when they laugh, I get to laugh.
What makes you happy?
My mommy. Mommy.
Hugging my mom.
Snuggling with my stuffed animals. My mom. Watching a movie. And she tells me that everything but monsters are not real. My mommy stays forever. I missed her.
What makes you happy?
When I'm with my mommy and my daddy.
Guess when Dad beats me in a babe battle.
My dad coming home.
My little sister doesn't take me things.
I think what makes me happy is going to my grandma's house. My nanny makes me happy.
When my parents take me to a carnival. When I get to go on vacation in Turks and Caicos with my family.
Probably when I go to like theme parks with my friends.
Disney World.
Play in the snow. When it snows, it makes me happy.
So Ekta, here the point is that if you heard these little children, nobody spoke about big houses, cars, presents, rarely. Most of them had to say, these are 100 kids, there's a experiment done with 100 children. Most of them said family, parents, home. Most of them said that. So here the point which I'm trying to make is that happiness does not lie in external things. It begins at home. You have the power to make your children happy, and you can go through this. I can put the link in the chat box. You can listen to all the 100 kids, and you will come back and say 90% kids, 90 children said that it's family, home, mommy, daddy, vacation with family, grandparents. This is what children want. So parents, I urge you to first look at these basic needs of your children before you start giving them something which is absolutely not required right now. Okay. Think about it before you give luxuries to your children. First understand whether your child is in the happy state or not, because happiness is what your child require first before they require anything else. So that's how I conclude today's session, and I hope that everybody would have liked it, and I'm going to there's added enough value to whoever is listening to us today and have listened to all our previous series.
Absolutely wonderful, Rezina. Thank you so much, for taking us through this toughest job that any adult would have of being a parent, because it's definitely not easy. And I think, as the children grow up, it only gets tougher because their mind also starts to work. And here, of course, when you have smaller children, they know very little, they're learning, so they have different challenges. But once they're a teenager, it's totally different. And once you have grown up children, and I think then it's totally different. So the job of a parent is a never ending job, and it starts, there is a starting point, but there isn't an ending point. So it's always work in progress, and there is so much that they need to do. And I'm sure when you speak to people who have become grandparents, uh, their stance definitely changes as a grandparent, vis-a-vis what they did as a parent. The approach is very different. uh, Perhaps it's like saying that when the way you deal with your own child is not the way you deal with your neighbor's child. Your
Yes.
patience, your tolerance is a lot more with them, but with your own,
Yes.
probably for the fact that you take things for granted. But definitely, all that you shared across these 4 sessions have definitely going to be very useful for a lot of parents of different age group. And we would love to hear feedback from whoever would like to share it with us, be it leave a comment on our platform, or for those who are on our WhatsApp group, you could leave a message. You could speak to either Ela or myself to share your feedback, inputs, and we would be very happy to take any personal question to Rezina for her to address them. And because I personally have benefited, and it has got me thinking on a lot of aspects. Of course, it takes time to really change yourself, but as we do understand that change is something that we all need to internalize and accept. So, that's how it is. And we have Sadia saying that, she's really liked the sessions. In fact, we've received a lot of positive feedback for you, Rezina, from a lot of parents who have been watching predominantly on Facebook. And we really appreciate all the people who've been, diligently following all these sessions that Rezina has put up for us for the last 1 month. And let me also tell you that, she's a very dedicated parent coach. On two of the sessions, she herself wasn't well, but her commitment speaks volumes about her. And she even almost had a COVID scare, but thankfully, with God's grace, she tested negative and all is good at her end. So that really speaks, that the effort, and I'm sure each one of you have seen that every time she's come up with something very unique and interesting to know, with relevant examples, techniques, and everything. And we really hope that each one of you would benefit from all that Rezina has shared. And like we always say, that since we are on a virtual platform, the least that we could, do for you is to extend our gratitude and present you a certificate. So allow me to share that. Just give me a second. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I can.
All
Yes.
right. So thank you so much, Rezina, for being here, for sharing all the inputs that you have as a parent coach, for taking us through all those lovely examples, your personal experiences, because I think that really added a lot of weightage. I'm sure a lot of you could have Googled all this stuff, but I think what really impacts the session is the experiential learning that comes from there. And that is the endeavor that mcube has been working on, to not bring in bookish knowledge, because that is available for each one of us to read. But must you read books which have you know practical examples, like the one that Rezina shared, which she has authored, so that you are able to gain out of the experiences. And since she's been working with a lot of parents, a lot of examples, without taking names of those parents, have been shared here. And of course, she's been very generous to share her own, shortcoming as a parent and how she worked upon it. And I think I don't recollect whether Rezina shared this or not, but having to make her own journey as a parent happy, peaceful, and successful, did she first seek coaching, and then that triggered her to be a parent coach? Yes, Regina, am I right in saying that?
Absolutely, Ekta, absolutely. Because, when I started my journey, I realized that I had seen a lot of parents struggling, and I was very sure that it's not going to be easy. And that's when I had a coach for very early days of my life. In fact, from the time I started my career, I was open with the thought and view that a coach or a mentor always helps. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
yes, for my parenting also, I still have a coach whom I go back to whenever I have tough times, because sometimes you need somebody to talk to as well as a parent, right?
Absolutely.
So I still have a coach whom I go up to and talk and discuss my daily matters, and sometimes I even take help in deciding or understanding what should I do, what should I not. So no parent is a perfect parent, as I say, and I also accept it for myself as well. So as a parent, I also fail many times, and I look up and I take help from my mentors and coach who guide me on this journey. So please, I have to all parents out there, there is nothing special about me, even though I am a parenting expert. The only thing special about me is that I'm a conscious parent. Okay. The only thing special about me is that I am progressing each and every day by using these techniques which I have learned and helping me in my parenting journey and making it easy. And of course, I'm seeing it results in my child as well. So that's something special about me. And you, everyone out there who's watching and listening to me, you can also be special. You can be exactly like me. You can be exactly like a parenting coach if you adopt these techniques and these tips and all the information which we have shared with you. You can also
Absolutely.
become that special.
Absolutely. And I think, like I keep sharing I've shared it, I think, during our parenting series also. I think it is important to fail, be it as
Yes.
a parent, be it as an individual, be it as a child. Because my favorite line says, forward action, inward learning. Only when you fail, that one, you are grounded. Second, you will work towards learning, you will work towards improving yourself. But if you keep getting it right, if your journey is absolutely seamless, there is something not right then. Either
Absolutely.
you are giving into it very easily,
Yes.
or there is something awaiting for you to react, or you have chosen not to react or respond to a situation and you are totally blinded towards it, which may not be the right approach. Having said that, we spoke about change, right? That it is important to internalize, accept change. And since we conclude our February series today about parenting, in the past, we've spoken about positive attitude in negative situation. We understood what it means to be alone versus lonely. We definitely understood that what is important is to have a change in the mindset, right? And of course, always have an attitude of gratitude, which even Rezina shared, that we must always have that expression of gratitude and teach our children also about gratitude. We even spoke about some of the aspects that Rezina touched upon today, that how does a child feel about himself or herself when they look at themselves in the mirror, what causes stress to them, body shaming perhaps, you know self love is something that is totally missing. We spoke about it at mcube. We touched upon leadership, where leadership qualities are equally important for children and for all of us. We spoke about how we can build our mental endurance, how we can motivate, and of course, we spoke about parenting, a very important aspect. Come March, of course, we all know that March is known for Women's Day, right? And when you talk about women, there are different thoughts that come to people's mind. The International Women's Day theme this year is I choose to challenge, right? mcube this March brings I choose to challenge the inevitable. Give me a second to share something. Just give me a second.
MQ
Can you hear?
presents Choose to Challenge the Inevitable, Women for Change and the Change Maker. She is the brand you and the Lakshmi to be able to create a healthy you which leads to happy you. Women are the change that we are all looking for. We will create that ripple this International Women's Day. Let us pledge to choose to challenge the inevitable. Thank you.
So we choose to challenge the inevitable in the month of March. We're going to be talking about the change and the change maker. We'll talk about how you yourself are the brand and how you can build that. And of course, resonating with the fact that, as per the Hindu mythology, each one of you is the Lakshmi of the house, which means you are competent and capable to manage the money affairs. A healthy you, a healthy woman, leads to a healthy family. And when everybody is healthy, be it mentally, physically, emotionally, leads to you being happy. Who would speak about this? What are the other details? We will share with you, but we wanted to just let you know that mcube is not just about one series, but mcube is about what you think, what perspectives you wish to understand, and how you wish to make a change in your life. So it is the time for all of us to make that change. And with this, we come to the end of the series of Restart, Reprogram, rather, Reprogram and Restart Parenting with NLP. And I must say, Rezina, absolutely amazing inputs from your end. And I totally love this series with, and the kind of feedback that we've received is amazing. Uh, we've had many parents watch this, and I'm sure that book of yours is definitely going to do exceptionally well. So thank you so much from the entire team of MQ for being here, for always supporting MQ, and it really means a lot to have you on our platform.
Thank you so much, Ekta. I think mcube is a brilliant platform because I've been associated with it in the past as well, and I've been in some of your talk shows and series. I think you and Ela are adding so much of value in so many people's lives. Yeah, I have been seeing videos myself and participating in it. I think commendable. I would urge everyone, to be and on this platform, watch your talk shows, see your videos because it is so progressive, it is so inspiring. And especially in the women's space, I've seen so much of contribution, and that's wonderful, Ekta. I want to congratulate MCube and the team who is behind this, and I look forward to be associated with MCube always and forever. Thank you
Thank you
so much
so
for
much.
having me.
Thank you so much and take care. And see
Thank you
you
so
all
much.
very soon in the month of March with all the details of I Choose to Challenge the Inevitable. Take care.